We talked to your son in Costa Rica recently.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Bueno. Me río de carcajadas. I am belly laughing, sí, porque mi esposo me salvó. My husband saved me. Me salvó con un conector, porque mi conector con la pantalla estaba roto. It's broken off. Ooh, speaking of roto, we'll take a look at roto today. Pero creo quizás dos aspectos, un aspecto y nada más. We're going to take a look at some of those words like roto tonight. Okay, vale. Vamos a empezar. We're going to start. We're going to watch, I think maybe 5 minutes of this. Es algo interesante. It's something interesting. And I know sometimes people have actually asked me about this. Like, how come sometimes you see that word see just connected, and it's not like somebody really answering, oye, Juan, estás aquí. Hey, Juan, you here? Sí. No, not exactly that kind of see, but see that's connected to another idea where you didn't think you were asking a question. Why does that happen? And again, this ties in very, very beautifully with all these little videos we've had for the last 3 weeks, something about little responses that are in the negative or the affirmative. And if you haven't ever noticed this before, this is actually a good thing to think about. Not so much that you have to use it all the time, but rather that notice it when people use it. And it's, again, you'll kind of get the idea as it rolls forward. The weirdness of Spanish confirmations like sí, cama, no? Si sabes qué ponerte o si sabes qué ponerte. Do you really know what you're going to wear? O sí que no sabes qué ponerte.
Sí que no sabes qué ponerte. No sé qué ponerme. Confirmations in Spanish can get tricky every now and then, but this really isn't a complex subject. It's just completely different from what happens in English. Soy Maura de Spring Spanish, and let's figure out how to ask for confirmations in Spanish like a true native speaker. Empecemos. Número 1. Using sí to ask for confirmations. Hablamos más tarde, ¿sí? Sí, seguro. ¿Me recuerdas si no te llamo, vale?
And vale is just another way to ask for confirmation. You know that. Vale is like saying okay.
Okay, cero rollo.
Cero rollo. Rollo. Rollo indica un problema que es desagradable. Es más cortés que it is more polite than saying pain in the behind, but un rollo is something that's a pain. Yeah, cero rollo makes it zero of a problem. Okay.
Jongleur. Me encanta enseñarles cosas de mi español venezolano. Cero rollo is
but rollo is really used in a lot of places besides Venezuela.
100% one of those things. Yo ni siquiera me atrevo a decir esto en España.
Ni siquiera. Ni siquiera. I don't even dare to say this in Spain.
For Venezuelans, rollo is a problem.
But Spaniards do use this, rollo, a lot of other places.
Something that is abstractly rolled up or wrapped.
Para los mexicanos también, un rollo es un problema. Por ejemplo, aunque vivo en la Ciudad de México, todavía sigo teniendo un número de Cancún, porque cambiarse de proveedor es todo un rollo.
Todo un rollo, a total pain in the neck. Sí. Es decir, sí. Todo un rollo. Okay.
Cero is the number. Now, Spanish in general can use this number like English uses no. For example, I have no energy, tengo cero energía. Do you mind if I open the window? No, cero. Go check that link down below if you haven't already so you can get our free Essential Spanish Chunking Kit. You'll find many everyday chunks in there. Ahora, de vuelta a nuestro diálogo. How did I ask for confirmation? Hablamos más tarde, ¿sí? Using sí, this way will create the feeling that you're requesting something from the other person. O sea, more than confirming that we'll talk later, I was asking Alex if we could talk later. We'll see the difference even clearer when we get to using no instead. ¿Me recuerdas si no te llamo, vale? This vale works very much like an Spanish people, I mean from
And I think we've got a little bit of a feedback thing. So you may want to, if you think you're the one, you may want to silence your speaker to see if that helps the problem. Okay.
Spain use this more than anyone. Pero los venezolanos, por ejemplo, llevan mucho tiempo utilizando esta palabra para otros fines y ahora la utilizan de esta manera cada vez más. Me ducho y salimos, okay? Let's talk about this because though okay is definitely an English word, we use it as naturally as English does. So you could hear things like, tú llevas la comida y yo llevo la bebida, okay? Before we continue, know this. Confirming with sí or any of its equivalents like vale or okay is far less common than confirming with no. Let's check out why.
Oh yeah. So if you want to say okay. Uh-oh. We're still getting feedback from somebody. Yeah. Yeah. Silence your speaker if you think that's you. The sí or okay or vale is in most places even less common than using no. Yeah, right? Okay. And no as a question, not no as a statement. Okay.
In the next section. Número dos. No to ask for confirmations. A veces, we would use sí and no together to ask for confirmation. Sí, no? Just stick around till the end when we'll uncover what's up with that. ¡Qué buena película, no! Sí, me encantó. Mucho mejor que la de ayer. ¿Verdad? A mí no me gustó nada esa película. Now, here's the king of kings of asking for confirmations in Spanish. Do use no for anything you want actual confirmation on. Things like, salimos pronto, ¿no? Mejor pedimos comida, ¿no? Mañana es jueves, ¿no? Just in case this gets confusing, let's make sure you know how to answer this. If someone asks, ¿tú comes picante, no? Answers could be, sí. This would mean you do eat spicy food. No. This means you don't eat spicy food. ¿Verdad? Can be a great substitute for no, especially when you think the other person will agree. So you could say, los últimos años han sido súper raros, ¿verdad? Tipo, do not tell me you don't agree. Or do tell me in the comments. Las vacaciones siempre se hacen cortas, ¿verdad? You could also do what Alex did and use verdad on its own if you agree with the other person. Much like right works in English. Por ejemplo, no soporto que llueva todos los días. ¿Verdad? Yo tampoco. Número 3. Using sí, no, pronouns, and o to ask for confirmations. Here's that crazy thing with sí and no together that will make sense sometimes. Let's check it out. Tú me habías dicho que te quedabas a dormir. Sí, no?
Oh, and notice how they translate that. You did, didn't you? Sí is the you did part. No, didn't you? You will hear people using those together. It sounds kind of weird that you would use sí, no together, but people will do that.
Sí, mañana no tengo que levantarme temprano. Tú sí, ¿no?
You do, don't you? Tú sí, you do. No? Don't you?
No, al final no tengo que salir temprano. ¿O sí? No sé. Déjame confirmar y te aviso. Vale. All right, a lot to unpack here. Primero, let's focus on that sí, no combination. It actually works just the same as any confirmation that uses no. It's just that this time what you're confirming is the sí. Por ejemplo, ustedes habían pedido comida, ¿sí, no? ¿Querías otra cerveza, sí, no? In both of these cases, you already think the answer is yes. Most likely because something happened or was said before that makes you think so. You can even think about this sí, no, like what we use to reconfirm a yes. Les dije que revisaran el enlace en la descripción, ¿sí, no? Now, what's up with using pronouns like tú sí, no? Or o, like in o sí? Check out the following examples. Mañana no tengo que levantarme temprano. Tú sí, no?
Yeah. You do. Tú sí. We use the word do. What the heck does do mean? Yeah, it's confirmation, okay? In English. Tú sí, you do. No, don't you?
O sí. No sé. Déjame confirmar y te aviso.
And the o sí is or do I? O sí, or do I?
No tenemos que llevar nada. O sí.
Oh, we don't have to bring anything, or ooh, or do we? O sí. Okay.
We use this o sí at the end to ask for a confirmation in case what we just said is wrong. Hay que llevar algo, o no. You can do the same with o no. I said we do have to bring something, but I ask o no at the end in case I'm wrong. As you can see, you would use o sí if the sentence is negative and o no if the sentence is affirmative. Same logic behind question tags in English, like don't you or do you. Using a pronoun before sí and no. Yo no tengo frío. Tú sí. Same logic. For an affirmative sentence, use a negative confirmation and vice versa. Ellos leen muchísimo. Ustedes no.
And the pronoun, like the tú or the ustedes, just pegs that to the sí or no, so you know who you're asking about. That's all it does.
Use the pronoun of whomever you're talking to. In this case, I'm asking ustedes. Número 4.
Okay. Y práctica pueden ver más tarde. You can finish that out on your own if you want to. Just know that when you hear people saying that, they're putting in the do you or don't we or yeah, something like that. Like we do in English, we just use different words with it. Okay. A ver. ¿Qué vamos a hacer esta noche? What are we going to do tonight? We're going to take a look at that little article on las rusas embarasadas, the preggy Russian ladies, well, couples, because they're coming with partners or husbands. They're not all coming alone. Just to see if you had any problems, which words you chose to define, because I asked you to limit. Don't go looking up every word. Do know I truncated that article. I edited it, cut it short. It would have gone on for about 6 or 7 pages because they were getting into legalese stuff and lawyers said this and lawyers said that. No nos importa. That kind of stuff doesn't really matter. So do know that I did cut that article for length so that you wouldn't be looking forever and ever looking up a gazillion things. Okay. If an article gets too long, it deters you from actually, finishing it. Okay. A ver. En el título, in the title, right up front here, we're going to see one of the concepts we're going to be practicing tonight. Embarasadas. And we're going to be practicing it in this context. This is a past participle. I don't care that you really recognize it as a past participle, okay? But do know this is a word that is just a modifier, meaning it's a descriptor. It tells you about the noun it's talking about. It's talking about las rusas, Russian women in general, okay? And then we're making it more specific by saying what kind of Russian women? Las rusas embarasadas, pregnant Russian women, okay? And we're going to take a deep dive today into this thing that is called the past participle, especially the one that is descriptive, the one that is talking about a noun. And the reason it is embarasadas is that it's talking about rusas, Russian women. So it has to match up, like all adjectives, it has to match up with the noun it's talking about. So, rusas, una palabra femenina, una palabra plural. Entonces, tenemos embarazadas. Igualmente, palabra femenina, igualmente palabra plural. So, pregnant Russian women are arriving in Argentina. ¿Qué son funcionarios?
The authorities, the officials.
Officials, yeah.
Officials. ¿Qué término vago? What a vague term. Funcionarios are just officials, bureaucrats. Yeah, somebody who works in some kind of an office. See? Funcionar means to work, like a gadget or a device works. Well, that funcionarios are supposed to be working in an office somewhere. I guess you can look at it that way. Los funcionarios sospechan. Sí. Yeah, officials are suspicious. Sospechan. They are suspicious. And Esteban had an interesting exchange with his friend from Argentina about this very, very topic, which I'll let you share that with everybody later, Esteban. ¿Sí? Okay, bien. Vamos a ver. We're going to take this off for a minute, un minuto. ¿Cuáles son tres palabras? What are like 3 or 4 words? I think I gave you up to 4 because this was a longer one. What are words that you actually felt, this is big and bad enough, I got to look it up? Karen.
Para dar a luz. I thought you had told us what that was recently, but I couldn't find it written down anywhere. So
Give to light.
Yeah.
Poético. Give to light. Pero no es exactamente give to light. Dar a luz es
to give birth.
give birth.
Yeah.
Which is really a poetic and beautiful way of talking about bringing your children into the world. Yeah. Dar a luz. Dar a luz. Give to light. Pero es give birth. Okay. Fantástico. ¿Qué más? What other words did folks actually choose as this is some of my gimmies I'm going to look up? Susana.
Colocando letreros y carteles. I
Okay.
did not know what colocandos were, or letreros, or carteles. So
Now,
I have no
when you
idea
look
what
up
that means.
colocando, you don't really have to look it up as colocando.
Right.
From ando, you know, it's
Oh.
what kind of verb?
Yeah, in ing.
It's an ing, and it's from that
AR.
category we call AR verbs. So what you do is you say, colocar, obviamente, obviously, it's an AR verb. I'm going to look up colocar. Colocar is to
Hang or put up.
well, to put, to place something. Yeah, see? Bien. ¿Qué más? What are your other gimmies that you looked up?
Okay, I looked up suspicion, even though I suspected that it was suspicious, but I want to
suspected it was
understand
suspicious.
the title because I thought I'm not going to go through this thing and not get it. And then I did pareja, which is not bird, it's couple.
Mhm.
And then ciudadania, citizen.
Oh, okay.
Citizenship. And
See.
then another one I looked up was fueron, escaped. What did they do from Russia? You know, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Bien. And wasn't like fueron, it's a conjugated form, and you got to look at the context of how it's said and all that, right? But yeah, sospechar es to suspect. Sí, muy bien. A ver, now, the other one, you've got the word ciudad buried in the middle of that.
Yes,
¿Y
yeah.
qué es ciudad?
Yeah, city.
City. Okay. Maybe you don't know that great big long word with all the other stuff attached to it, right? But ciudad, city. Okay. It's not a direct thing, but you know, it has to do with some kind of a geographical entity, something belonging to that geographical entity, right? Yeah. Ciudadano es citizen. See? So we can, when we drag that word ciudad out, we get words like citizen, citizenship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ship in English. Que raro. What a strange thing we do in English with that. Yeah, ship.
I think our word citizen may have come from city.
Sí, ciudadano. Yeah, it comes from the word for city. The word citizen. Well, you know, citizen in English, it's a Latin thing, guys. Es de latín. Boom. Y ya está. That's it, right? See? Okay. And, you know, way back, if you want to go back to the whole Greek definition of that, they were city states. If you belonged in the city, you were a citizen. Yeah. Okay. So that idea of citizen doesn't really come long ago from the idea of a country, but really from belonging to a city, a community. Yeah, that's smaller, but being a part of a community. Okay, vale. Otras palabras, other words that you had as your gimmies.
A largo plazo.
A largo plazo. Y toda la frase, yeah, you got to look at the whole phrase. ¿Qué es? Sí, Karen.
Well, it seemed like it must mean along something or along something. But it's
something.
in the long term.
Long term. Sí.
I don't know how you get term out of
Well,
plazo.
pues sí, plazo. Plazo is a term. So when people talk about long-term employment, long-term payments, long-term loans, all of those kinds of ideas are often connected with a term, meaning there's a time limit. Yeah, on a loan, on a payment. Yeah, a largo plazo is long term. Bien. And you should look at it as a 3-word phrase. Those 3 words are always going to hang together like spit. Largo plazo. Okay. Bien. Vale. Bueno. Otros términos. Any other words you looked up as your gimmies?
I looked up listas de espera. Waiting list. Listas de espera.
De espera, sí. Lista de espera. Waiting list. And they don't use ing, do they? They don't use ing in Spanish. We do in English, but they don't there. Think about it. If you are at the boarding gate at the airport, that's often called salón de espera. If you're in The waiting room at a doctor's office. Yeah, sitting there with the magazine that everybody else has been through. Yeah. Sala de espera. Sala de espera. A waiting room. Okay. Bien. Bien. Okay. Espera comes from esperar. Esperar is to wait or to expect something. It's got more than one definition. Vale. Perfecto. ¿Qué más? Any other gimme words you had to look up?
I looked up auxiliar de vuelo, flight attendant.
You see, auxiliar. Auxiliar is an attendant, see? Auxiliar de vuelo, por lo general, there was a more old-fashioned term for auxilio de vuelo, which was used as azafata, which not too many people, only some people in Spain use that, but auxilio. Auxilio is anybody who helps. Auxilio literally means helping, yeah, or help of some kind. Auxilio. We have the English word auxiliary. Yeah, okay, bien. Vale. Otras palabras, otros términos. Pat, bien.
Mute. I had to unmute. I didn't know what mensualis meant. And they're talking about 30% of the births, and I didn't realize that was a word for monthly.
Monthly. See, if we shorten that down, you see mes. Oh, well, almost. It's mensual, mensual con N. Yeah, it's got an N, but mensual. I hate to say it. Menstruation. Menstruation.
Well, that's what it looks like. So that's why I had to look that one up. I thought.
Al grano, if you go down to the foundation of it, yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah. Es así, yeah. See, you already know some of these things. It's Socratic method. We just have to drag it out. Oh, I see why it's that. Sí, ahora entiendo. Yeah, now I get it. Okay. Bueno, otros términos.
Can we assume that el papeleo is paperwork?
Sí.
I didn't look it up, but
Sí.
it just
I
figured it
did.
had to be that.
That's right.
Sí. Now, so there's a good example. Isn't it a pretty safe bet to say, I could guess what that means, but it's because you know papel and you know the context, and you know that somebody who's in that situation has to fill out un montón de formularios, a ton of forms. So sure. Okay. Vale. Yeah. Not even worth it to waste your gimme on that word because it was es obvio. Es obvio.
I did.
But you did. Mala suerte.
I knew it, but I wanted to confirm it.
You just wanted to make sure. Okay. Bien. Bien. Okay. Otros términos. Any other terms that you felt, I got to look this sucker up? Nada? Okay, Susana.
Yeah, just inmobiliarias. Inmobiliarias. Real estate agents.
Oh, yeah.
Eso
Yeah,
es difícil. That one
guessed
is a
that
tough
one, yeah.
one. That one is tough, even from context. That's one that if I were in your shoes, I would choose to look up. There's nothing in there really. It looks like immobile. Like, what? Does that make sense in context? No, it does not. Yeah. Real estate, anything dealing with real estate. Sí, es así. That's right. Fantástico. Okay. Vale. Bien. Okay. Otros términos. Any other terms you want to bring up for the group? Sí o no? And then we'll fill in any Swiss cheese holes. So, Karen.
Did this anuncio el parto de Argentina como la mejor alternativa a dar a luz en Estados Unidos? Well, okay, so there's some kind of announcement that part of Argentina was like the best alternative to giving birth in the United States?
I'll have to get down to that exact phrasing, but I know which one you're talking about.
Mhm.
See?
It was the El Parto that got me, because I could.
Parto is often used to refer to birth, the birth process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the process of giving birth. Birthing, but we don't, giving birth as a noun.
Okay, so it's just
Giving birth in a noun is
All
el
right.
parto.
repetitive.
Yeah.
Dar la luz is
Yeah.
the same El Parto.
Eso. Okay.
I think they were saying it's the best place outside of the United States.
Bien, exacto. Okay. Tienes razón. Vale, perfecto. Otros términos, any other terms? And as I go through, I'm going to highlight little participles as we go through, like as a little precursor to what we'll be doing in a bit. So you can think about that, right? We're going to talk about past ideas too, but these are past ideas that are really being used as adjectives. So, okay. Bien. Bueno, vamos a ver. Let's take a look. Let's pull up the whole article. We'll fill in any little Swiss cheese holes as we go along. And I'm going to highlight, but maybe not define every single word that winds up being a past participle, so that you start to kind of think about this and think about it in terms of that makes sense. It's describing. Yeah. Although past participles can also be part of a verb phrase as well. The young couple was decided. The young couple decided, right? They had decided, decidida, and it's talking about pareja, see, to get out of Russia. Yeah. Irse here is to take off from, get out of. The young couple was already decided on getting out of Russia. And they name him Alex. I'm not going to do all Alex. They tell his age. Había protestado. Here, this participle is connected to this verb. Please notice it's connected to a form of haber. Had decided, had protested against the war in Ukraine, and did not. He refused. This is a way of saying no aceptó. He did not accept going into the army. So he refused to go into the army, the Russian army, see, para luchar, in order to fight. Right. See, he and his wife, Natasha, de 30 años, see, they were afraid that their country was going to close their
Borders to the
borders. Fronteras es buena palabra saber. Fronteras no es front. Well, it is
Frontier.
a front. Yeah. The border, frontera. They were afraid they were going to close the borders. Okay. Después de saber en septiembre que esperaban, before finding out. So, not really knowing, but before finding out in September that they were awaiting their first child, they began to look for alternatives. See, Argentina, unlike many countries, a diferencia means different from, therefore unlike many countries, still was permitting entry of Russians, allowing Russians to come in. And it is a country that gives citizenship. Okay, and there you see ciudad buried. Los niños nacidos, to children who are born. There's a participle. What kind of children? Born on their soil. For Russians, An Argentine passport is something like a golden ticket. Yeah, boleto dorado. Wow, dorado is a past participle. It is golden. It's also a descriptor, which gives access without a visa to more than 170 countries. 170 países, Dios mío, son muchos. Okay, that's a lot of them. We wanted to give our baby the option of going wherever he might want and doing whatever he might want to do, right? Said the dad. Un ingeniero, he's an engineer, see? To grow like a free person, okay? But a few days after arriving in Buenos Aires in January, the Argentine government began to sound the sound alarms. Authorities here say that Russian women arriving in Argentina to give birth, para dar a luz, to give birth, and later ask for passports, solicitar. Yeah, soliciting means you're asking for something. Yeah, asking for passports, applying for passports. That's solicitar. And later, se marchan, they take off. Marcharse is much like irse. Marcharse means to leave. Literally looks like march, and that's what it means. March off. Hoof it. Get the heck out. Yeah. Parents, and here they're talking about parents as a whole category. Parents are not necessarily breaking the rules. Parents are not necessarily breaking the rules, but authorities are afraid that some might be able to become spies. They might be spies who want to obtain citizenship legitimately. So these are the funcionarios, autoridades. Yeah, authorities, people who work within the government. Some of them are a little like looking sideways at this kind of thing. The new parents are part of an historic exodus of Russians. And here is a passive voice structure in Spanish that is very much favored. Se estima, it is estimated. This is a one way of using Spanish passive that is very much blessed, looked upon as acceptable, great, use this even for formal or informal speech even. It is estimated that hasta up to 1 million, right, fled Russia in the years since the invasion began. A migration similar to the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Okay. The majority, they went off to neighboring countries of Russia. So vecinos are neighbors of Russia. And then they name who those countries are. And you can recognize what they are. See? Okay. All those that border on very, very close to Russia and are easy to get to from Russia. Pero Argentina se convirtió. But Argentina became, it didn't work hard to do this. It just naturally fell out that way. So convertirse indicates it just naturally happened. Argentina became un destino muy buscado. And we've got, it became a very looked for. We wouldn't say looked for. We would say sought after. Yeah. It became a very sought after, a very popular kind of destination. And buscado is a past participle. Okay. The phenomenon was creating an industry of agencies that charge Cobrar is to charge money for a service. Okay, we can use cobrar to talk about what the taxi guy charges you. You can talk about cobrar to talk about what your plumber or electrician charges you. Cobrar, to charge. Okay, the phenomena created an industry of agencies that charge thousands of dollars in exchange for, in exchange for help to find maternity hospitals and complete the paperwork. Papeleo, paperwork, okay? Only 2,400 Russians asked for residency. Okay. So that immigration authorities don't think that the majority or most of them, we would say most of them, a lot of people suspect that they don't really intend to stay long term, a largo plazo. Okay. The problem is that they don't come here to live here, he said, meaning one of the authorities. Yeah. And this is a quote. They take the passport, they get the passport, and later we find Russian spies in Slovenia with an Argentine passport. This is our fear. Now, this is a little bit out of context because what a section I had to cut was that in Slovenia, they actually, there have been some people who were arrested for some other, I don't know, for some other, somebody breached a law in Slovenia, and they found out that they had an Argentine passport, but they were actually Russians and that they had gotten passports this way. They were spies. This was a big kerfuffle. The news got back to Argentina and people were like, "Gah." Okay, so that's where that comes from. But giving birth to a child in Argentina does not guarantee the parents citizenship. Yeah. That depends on
The judge.
a judge. Okay. So many of the companies, empresa is just a different synonym for compañía, company, right? Many of the companies and agents, and travel agencies that help to coordinate the birthing trips, to Argentina, promote their services with the promise of a passport. And the quote they do in their little brochures is, el más rápido del mundo. The fastest in the world. Yeah, según una firma, according to one firm. Sí. Anuncia el parto en Argentina como, okay, so it announces, meaning whatever that brochure is or that company is, it announces birth in Argentina, the process of giving birth in Argentina as como the best alternative to giving birth in the United States. Okay, so they have a similar law to the laws that we have in the United States. A judge said that, in a reported speech, a judge said that the government should permit entrance of women por causa del, on account of riesgo, on account of
the risks.
the risk for their lives, and y las de sus bebés, las de refers back to vidas, their lives and those and the lives of their babies. Okay. And they quote our Georgie Pauline. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And he is head of consular service of the Russian embassy, and embajada there is actually a noun, embassy, criticize the companies that promise things that are completely
Illusionary.
illusions,
Yeah.
they are fictional, he's saying. Yeah. They're selling them a bill of goods, he says. They're touting more than they can deliver. That's what he means by that. And here is a passive voice that's allowed and that Spaniards like to use, and anybody speaking Spanish likes to use the se nota. A great increase, a big increase in the arrival of Russians has been noted. Se nota, has been noticed. Okay, has been noticed is the se nota. Okay, translators have something ready. See, they've got,
Lists?
lists of
Waiting lists?
like months long waiting lists. This is like gold fever in California. Wow, that goes way back to the 1848 time period, but still a popular thing to talk about. People in Buenos Aires are already accustomed. Oh, here we've got está acostumbrada. We've got acostumbrada. We've got a participle. So notice that happens. People in our Buenos Aires are accustomed to hearing Russian spoken on the streets. In Palermo, a fashionable, de moda popular, un barrio de moda popular, a fashionable neighborhood amongst foreign tourists, turistas extranjeros, foreign tourists. One can see, se puede ver, one can see Russian moms empujando cochecitos. Pushing strollers, cochecitos, okay? Pushing strollers, o comprando ropa para bebés, or buying baby clothes, maternity hospitals are putting up signs. They're putting up, colocar. They're tacking it up, get the thumbtacks out. Están colocando, they're putting up signs and posters in Russian. In two of the most popular hospitals amongst Russian parents, the babies represent almost 30% of the monthly births. Wow. Some Russian families fear or are afraid that government comments might provoke a violent reaction or exacerbate anti-Russian sentiment, anti-Russian feelings, sentimientos, ¿sí? When we were looking for an apartment, there were real estate agents, and here's our inmobiliarias. Wow, what a mouthful that word is, and that talks about real estate. Real estate agents, and now we've got something describing those real estate agents who denied, who turned down, who refused to speak with me. Cuando le dije que era rusa, when I told them that I was Russian. And that's a quote from this lady. Una productora de cine. Ooh, she's a movie producer. Okay. Llegó a Buenos Aires en junio. She arrived in Buenos Aires in June, and she gave birth to a child in August, a son, único. Okay. The family plans to live here indefinitely. Interviews with a dozen Russian families, in interviews with a dozen Russian family, not even one said that they were planning to leave, take off, go away, irse, soon, right? Okay. And this is also true for this couple that we talked about in the beginning of the article. Están esperando un niño para fines de mayo. So they're expecting at the end of May.
So why is that para in that? Because it's a deadline? Or?
Oh, because, sí, exactamente. It's a deadline. When's that baby Putin out? Oh, Putin, that's a play on words. I didn't mean to do that. We're gonna pop that baby at the end of May. Para, there is a deadline when the birth is expected to take place. Exactamente. Para is a deadline. When we use para with a time period, it does not mean duration. You're not giving birth for the whole month of May. Good God, help us all. No. Para there tells when it's going to happen. Okay. Yeah. So, the pair was on vacation in República Dominicana. And here's our ago phrase.
Has been a year. It has been
a year ago, and they don't have the word ago. So what they use instead is it makes a year. Yeah. It's because they don't have ago. So a year ago, they were on vacation when Russia invaded Ukraine. They stayed in the Caribbean nation, for months. Yeah. Renunció. And that here is being used. It looks like renounce, and it does mean that, but it means quit. She quit her job as an airline
Flight attendant?
Flight attendant. Gracias. Sí. Yeah. An airline attendant, a flight attendant. Sí. Auxiliar de vuelo. Returned to Russia briefly to sell the car, pack up the business, take out money from what?
Bank account.
Bank accounts, yeah. They arrived in Argentina 31st of January. Okay. So all those past ones you probably got without a lot of difficulty. And here we've got just the wrap up here. Dice que se siente como en casa en Buenos Aires. She says that she feels
At home?
At home. En casa is at home. Okay. So instead of saying cómoda, comfortable, she feels at home in Buenos Aires. And they describe what Buenos Aires is. Una gran ciudad que le recuerda a Moscú, a big city that reminds her of. Le recuerda a Moscú, reminds her of Moscow. The le is the her part. Le recuerda. It reminds her, meaning Buenos Aires. Le recuerda a Moscú, what it reminds her of, right? She's hoping to get reestablished or to reestablish her marketing business here. As many Russians here, they say that they cannot predict. Predecir is a way of saying predict. They cannot predict if someday they're going to return to Russia or go someplace else or go to some other place. Por ahora dicen, for now, they say se quedan quietos. They're chilling out. Yeah. Chilling out there. Bien. Vale. Okay. Okay. I hope that filled in any Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Bien. Okay. Bueno.
Pregunta.
Sí.
I noticed that her husband's last name is the same as hers, except that hers ends in A. Is that a Russian thing or a Spanish
I'm sorry.
thing?
I'm getting so much echo.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry.
Perdón.
I think what she's saying
Husband
is the woman's last name ends in an A. and the man's doesn't. So it looks like
Oh.
a masculine, feminine.
That's a Slavic thing.
Slavic.
Oh,
My relatives all had that. I was known by the 90-year-old nun. The 90-year-old nun who substituted in my 4th grade class would always call me by my feminine form surname, because the Poles do that too. And half of us sitting in that class didn't know who she meant. So she'd look at me, Wysocka, where is she? And we're like, and the kids are all sitting there going, who? Yeah. Yeah. Many Slavic countries do a feminine form of a surname. That's what they do. Yeah. So, wow, we think we got it bad with gender and in Spanish. Okay. We're going to come back to this idea of participles in a little bit. Okay. Bien. What I want to point out now, we're going to do some past practice with the pictures. You're going to do it in some smaller groups. I want to point out that when you look up how to say a word in the past, don't look it up like this. When you look up a word, like you want to know how to say fixed, let's just say, because you think, oh, I need to know how to say this word in the past. And so you type into a dictionary fixed. You're going to get a whole bunch of look at all those words. And sadly, that won't always get you to the right word. And it won't necessarily even be this word. If you say, well, fixed, that means repaired. And it's okay when you say this thing is repaired, but reparado is not okay if you want to say I fixed. So don't look up a past tense verb with that ed on the end in a dictionary. It's going to give you participles. Yeah, or other type things that aren't the actual past tense word you're looking for. Okay. Bien. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to show you what we're going to be looking at, and we'll do one thing together, and then we're going to send you off into groups. Well, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to let you guys decide what you want to do. Ustedes pueden decidir. Okay. Vamos a ver. Sí.
Marilyn, did you say Stefan has something to say, talking to somebody from Argentina about all this? Because I'm
Oh, sí, perdón, gracias. Sí, gracias. Sí, Esteban quiere decir algo. La opinión. Esteban tiene un amigo, un buen amigo argentino de Buenos Aires, ¿verdad? Vive en Buenos Aires. Y él tenía opinión de este artículo. Y ¿cuál era su opinión? What was his opinion, Esteban? Oh.
No, can't hear.
Oh,
Can't hear you.
no podemos oír. No te podemos oír.
Oh.
Oh, no tienes micrófono.
Oh.
¿Quieres escribir a máquina en el comentario? Yeah. Perdón. I'm sorry. I put you on the spot with that one. I'll wait for him to type his little thing in there. And actually, I did read what his friend said. Y su reacción, la reacción de su amigo era algo en favor de las mujeres rusas. Bien. His friend had actually a pretty favorable commentary about that. Y puedo, momentito. Puedo leer casi directamente, sí, porque sí, Argentina has been a safe haven for people from all over the world since forever. Yeah. Okay, bien. That was his friend's basic reaction to that, which is true. Ellos vienen aquí porque, y estoy leyendo una parte del correo electrónico de su amigo. Ellos vienen aquí, ellos los rusos, ellos vienen aquí porque el pasaporte argentino es muy bueno para viajar. They come here because the Argentine passport is really good for traveling. A todas partes del mundo, all over the world. No es algo malo, creo. I don't think it's a bad thing. Que muchas personas nuevamente están huyendo de la guerra. I don't think it's a bad thing that many people are fleeing war y viniendo para el sur de América and coming to South America, ¿sí? Que suele ser pacífico, which seems to be a peaceful place, ¿sí? Yeah, and his other opinion, yeah, many of them are educated people, right? They have jobs, they have money, you know, they want to work. So, you know, sí, no pasa nada, no big deal, right? ¿Cómo se dice? No pasa nada. Nothing, no big deal. Bien. La opinión de su amigo. Ok.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
De nada. Y gracias. Ok. Vale, vamos a ver. Let's take a quick. Ok, voy a poner aquí en la pantalla. I'm going to put this up on the screen. No es participios, momentito. Es esto, this one. Puedes hablar de esto en el pasado. Let's take a look at some past and not participles yet, but past meaning imperfecto y pretérito. And you had some time to think about this. Okay, so remember, we're going to use imperfecto if your intent is to describe something or tell about an ongoing action in the background, right? But pretérito para narrar eventos. So that's your big umbrella. When you got to think in terms of 50-50, I either go pretérito or imperfecto. Which one do I choose? If I'm describing or telling background, imperfecto. If I'm just talking straight on, this happened, now I need pretérito, right? So, okay. Y aquí tenemos las dos fotos. Representan sí, dos tipos de recorridos o tours, sí, and sometimes they borrow that word tours into Spanish now even. Bien, ¿qué podemos decir de estas dos fotos? Opiniones, and here we're going to just take as examples some opinions that you guys had about these.
Imperfecto.
Imperfecto. And what would you use to describe either one or the two? ¿Sí? La foto de las flores o la foto de los turistas. No importa. Doesn't matter.
Las flores, imperfecto.
Okay. And what might you say about those las flores? Las flores, they were pretty. They were...
Iran. Is it Iran?
Eran.
Muy bellas.
Muy bellas. Bien, las flores eran muy bellas. We would not in that sense use fueran muy bellas. We're describing, so eran. When you described objects or people in the past, you tell what they looked like. We use imperfecto. Es descripción, nada más, nothing else. Okay, bueno. ¿Y qué más?
I found a way to use past tense. Las flores, florecieron.
Florecer es el verbo bloom.
That's what
Las flores. Florecieron. Florecieron, they bloomed. Florecer is to bloom. Those petals pop out, right? See? Florecieron. And there, that could be an event You know what? We could also say, if we meant it as just description, florecían. You know what? People wouldn't bat an eyelid one way or the other. They would just think, oh, they were blooming. They were blooming. That's what you meant. Florecían. They were blooming. Y florecieron, they bloomed, meaning they just popped out today. Sí, ¿entienden la diferencia? Understand the difference there? Okay. Florecieron would be that action of they actually opened up all the petals, but florecían, they were blooming if I'm describing imperfecto. Bien? So we could really use either one. It depends on what we mean behind it. Okay. Bueno, ¿qué más? What else can we say? It could be either one of the photos.
I have a question.
Sí, sí, dime.
So I wanted to say the tour included a stop. So would I use imperfect because then I go on to describe, or would I use a preterito because it was an event?
Ah, bien. You know, that included is kind of like saying, I had this in my pocket. How long did you have it there?
Right. So
I
that would
don't
be
know. I think
imperfect,
imperfecto works really great. So give me your example, tu ejemplo.
Okay, I said el recorrido incluía incluía una parada este lago con muchas flores amarillos y algunos saguaros.
Okay. Y hay una lista de cosas. You got your list of
Right.
things, okay? No voy a escribir todo, sí. Pero incluía, ¿sí?
Okay.
Un, sí, un recorrido de las flores en el sendero, o incluía un recorrido de las iglesias históricas de la ciudad, o incluía una visita a los museos de la ciudad. Así, like that. Magnífico. Bueno, ¿qué más? What else might we say? There are no wrong answers here.
I said for the first one, en el desierto de Sonora, había los recorridos de flores silvestres.
Había recorridos de senderos, trails.
Okay.
Senderos, trails or paths, con flores silvestres. Flores silvestres son wild flowers.
Yeah.
Bien, sí. Okay, bien. Había recorridos, there were tours, sí, de senderos of trails with wild flowers, o algo así. Bien, perfecto. Excelente. ¿Qué más?
I started my sentence with the first two words being imperfecto. Hubo lluvia. And what I'm saying is hubo lluvia en el otoño y en la primavera, por lo que las flores de desierto están aquí hoy. In other words, because it rained in spring, therefore we got flowers in the desert today.
Entiendo, sí, hubo lluvia. So rain occurred. Yeah.
Now, is hubo correct in that context when I'm talking about
Es posible, it is possible. It is possible because if you speak of it as rainfall, como la idea de there was rainfall, there was measurable rain, yeah. Then it's okay to use hubo. I think because you are describing with weather, quite often we still tend to lean towards this idea of había. But really, either would be permissible, but if you're giving your idea as, wow, this autumn, wow, we had the rain, and on account of that, now we're seeing all these flowers come out. Then hubo lluvia does make sense. Sí, tiene sentido. It makes sense. Tiene sentido. So really, you can use either one of those, but they carry with it kind of a different feel, if you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
No? Okay. Bien. And hubo lluvia, recognizing that rainfall occurred. Es posible. Bien. Okay. Buen ejemplo. Good example. Otra idea. Nada? Nada más? Okay. I'm going to stop off share for a minute. Un minuto. Would you like to go off for the next one in smaller groups, or do you prefer to do this all together? Todos juntos.
Todos juntos.
Todos
Yeah,
juntos.
I like it together.
Yeah.
Todos
Todos
juntos.
Me too.
Todos juntos. Okay. Vale. Bien. Quiero hacer lo que quieran ustedes. I want to do whatever you guys want to do with this. Okay. Bien. Okay. Vamos otra vez a sitios de empleo, work sites, workplaces, que son distintos, that are different. Okay. So we're going to talk about places of work. And we're trying to leave it very, very open here. You can say whatever you like about this. Aquí tenemos una fábrica con robots, ¿sí? Y una fábrica de carros. Tenemos un negocio no sé, es un negocio normal en una oficina normal. Y un almacén de Amazon, an Amazon warehouse. Bien, ok. ¿Qué ideas tienen ustedes? Si hablamos en el pasado, if we talk in the past about any of these workplaces, ¿qué podemos decir? What can we say about what happened in these places? Or what these places were like?
La reunión fue en la sala de conferencias.
La reunión fue en la sala de conferencia. Conferencia, sí, bien. And this is one of the curious uses of fue as a past tense of ser. Even though we think of estar with places, when you have an event, reunión es un evento, we do use ser, and in this case, the past form of ser, to talk about where it took place. Yeah, and that's why we use ser there. Fue, it took place in the conference room. Vale, perfecto. Bien. ¿Qué más? What else?
I used the verb trabajaban when I talked about, worked with machines or worked with computers or worked with, moving boxes and whatever. But I used the word trabajaba.
¿Trabajaba?
Trabajaban. They work. Los trabajadores trabajaban con las máquinas, etc.
Yeah, con las máquinas, etc. Now, this is probably a situation where you don't want to use trabajadores trabajaban. You probably don't want to use two words that are based on the same thematic word. Probably a little more redundant. Is it understandable? Totally. Okay. But you probably want to substitute instead of trabajadores, something like los obreros or los empleados. See? Something like that, so that you're not using a word that sounds like in English, the workers worked. Can you say it? Yes. Does everybody totally know what you mean? Absolutamente sí, sí, sí. But is it a little redundant? Sí. So here's where we want to expand. And, you could even cut out the subject. Remember, you can do this in Spanish. And this is one of the things that they can do in Spanish that we cannot do in English. We can cut out the subject altogether. And we could just say, trabajaban con las máquinas.
And is there a situation where you'd wipe out the subject, but you'd put a pronoun before trabajaban?
Ellos, es posible, sí. Sí. Bien, es posible.
Okay.
Yeah. But do know that one of the things that native speakers will typically do, if they know you're looking at that picture, and we're all on the same page that we're looking at that picture, it is a frequent habit to drop pronouns. Or, if you're going to do it, probably you don't want to repeat the word trabajador. You probably want to put in a substitute word. Bien. Okay. Bueno, ¿qué más? What else?
I found a way to use past tense in the factory.
En la fábrica, in the factory?
Sí. Un hombre se puso guantes negros, guantes.
Un hombre se puso, put on.
Sí.
Se puso, es un verbo muy irregular. Un hombre se puso guantes negros.
Antes de trabajar.
Sí, antes de trabajar. Before working. Sí. Antes de trabajar con las cajas, con los productos, antes de empacar las cajas, ¿verdad? Antes de llenar, filling up, antes de llenar las cajas con productos, ¿sí? Para enviar todo. Fantástico. Ok, bueno.
Pregunta.
Sí, dime.
What are guantas?
Guantes.
Guantes.
Guantes
Gloves.
son cosas para poner en las manos.
Ok, gracias.
Y muchas veces, por ejemplo, cuando era niña, me puse guantes antes de jugar en la nieve. I put on gloves before playing in the snow. Algo así. Pero aquí no están jugando, están trabajando con las manos y con guantes. Bien. Buena observación. ¿Qué más?
La jefe revisó los resultados de un proyecto que los empleados terminaron el mes pasado.
Bien. Revisó los resultados. Revisó los resultados. She reviewed the results or the outcome. ¿Sí? Los resultados de los empleados que terminaron su trabajo, terminaron su proyecto. Perfecto, fantástico. Los resultados del proyecto que terminaron sus empleados, por ejemplo. ¿Sí? Bien, fantástico. Muy bien. Otras ideas.
Well, I have one. Should I go ahead?
Sí.
I wasn't sure if I was still on mute.
Sí. Yeah, I just can't see everybody when I got the share screen up.
That's okay. Los empleados discutían el nuevo plan que el jefe, and I wanted to use a preterite here, presentó in La Reunion?
Discutían el nuevo plan.
Yeah, I thought like I could put the discutian in imperfect because they were busy discussing the plan that the boss presented. Is that?
Que presentó, sí, la jefa, the boss, la jefa, ¿sí? Bien, sí, que presentó la jefa. Que la jefa presentó, the more natural way would be to flip la jefa way to the end. I can't tell you why, that's just what they do. But you could say que la jefa presentó al grupo, o que la jefa les presentó, algo así. Sí, es posible. Muy bien, fantástico. Bueno, algo más. Anything else?
I have los empleados de Amazon trabajaban en un centro de distribución. Estaba un día muy aburrido.
Sí, trabajaban en un centro de distribución. Eso es, sí. En a distribution center. Sí. And then you had a description of the day. Era
Un día muy aburrido.
un día muy aburrido.
I like that
Así
one.
es, sí. It was a really boring day. See, yeah. Trabajaban, they were working in the center, and boy, it was a boring day. Excelente, excelente. Muy bien. Ok. A ver. Bueno. Hicieron muy bien. You guys did really well. I'm going to leave these for next week, los últimos, porque hay tres cosas, see? We've got 3 different things, so we're going to have lots of things. I don't want to cut people short. So we're going to leave that last slide for next week. I'll add a new one to it that will be kind of an off-the-cuff one, okay? Or no, I'll add one and resend it so that you see it. Es mejor preparar, better to prepare, see, than to get you too much off the cuff. I do want to preview one little thing because we've been pointing out these participles and participles and participles. And I'm going to show you a list that I pulled up. These were little notes I took from that 1985, la película, that movie video. Look at all those participles. I've got time marks on them. Wow. We have directed by. Wow. We have is inspired. We have were judged by, composed of, something was, la causa fue enviada, the case was sent. We've got a participle here used with a verb. This is past perfect, had governed, right? Had been taken off, had been responsible. We're not going to look at these on that right-hand side column so much next week. We're going to look at more of the other ones here. La octava película argentina nominada. We're going to look at all these participles next week. Tuvo que ser filmado, it had to be filmed, fue estrenado, was debuted, was presented for the first time, okay? There's not a good translation for estrenar. It means to do something for the first time. Va ser conducido is going to be driven or directed by something. Those are all the participles that were in our 1985, el video de 1985. And so next week, what I want to do is take a look at some of these participles, and they are words that are used indifferent functions. We're going to be looking more at these descriptive functions. And you're going to work, and I'm not going to show you I am going to ask you to work off the cuff because it will be that easy. And this is why I said don't look up words in a dictionary with the ed, like fixed, past tense already attached to it, because you're going to get both participles and verbs, and then you're going to be confused about which the heck one do I use. All right. And some of these participles do wind up getting translated into English into a word that is ed, but we're going to be looking at how we use these as descriptions. Okay. And the easiest one for me to point out to you is to point out this one is inspired. I'm not saying the coach is inspiring somebody, right? The movie is inspired by somebody else. So we're going to look at how we use these words, and no lleva acento. We're going to be looking at how we use these participles to describe things, but they actually come from a verb. Okay, so we're going to take that thing and remember how we have to make it into a masculine or feminine, a singular or a plural. I'm going to give you a few notes to read about it during the week. Bien, see? So that you can kind of mentally prepare for that and think about that. You'll have a new video, and I want you to notice for your listening segment, you're going to have another video that you're going to notice some past participles in that too. So just kind of make a mental note as you listen. It'll have the subtitles, so that part will be easy. And we're going to do some practice using those kind of verb ideas, but we're going to use them to describe things like inspired. And not the person who's doing the inspiring, the thing that was inspired. ¿Entienden? Understand?
Sí.
Bien? Okay.
Yeah.
Vale. And we'll talk a little bit about how that word might have more than one job, but we're going to focus on one of the three jobs that it has. That word inspirada or inspirado can have three different jobs. We're just going to look at one job, okay, to isolate it. Bien?
Bien.
Perfecto. Okay. Vale. And because I've got a grammar ease thing for you to look at, I'm going to have a fun listening video and a little grammar piece, but no long reading for next week. ¿Sí? La semana que viene es la última semana del invierno. Next week, I just want to let you know, next week is the last week of the winter session. So that'll be, será, it will be, será el 22 de marzo. It'll be March 22nd. And the week after that is going to be a week off. Okay. That'll be a week off. And then spring session will start the first week of April. Okay. And we're a definite green light go. We've got enough people. So magnifico. Okay, so that's definitely going to happen. If you haven't signed up for it yet, still plenty of time. No pasa nada, no big deal, no pasa nada. You can still sign up, and we are good to go. Okay, está bien.
Está bien.
Perfecto.
Gracias.
Perfecto. And we'll finish up a little bit with our past tenses there. Maybe just one extra idea to throw into it for the week. Okay, fantástico. Y nos vemos la semana que viene.